Since time immemorial, humanity has sought answers about its origin, purpose, and ultimate destiny. The story of Adam and Eve is undoubtedly one of the oldest and most enigmatic narratives that has survived the passage of time. But what if I told you that a lost book, a hidden piece of the puzzle, reveals disturbing secrets about what really happened after their expulsion from Eden? Over the centuries, there has been talk of lost manuscripts, texts that were excluded from the official Bible, cast into the shadows for reasons that still provoke debate today. The Lost Book of Adam and Eve is one of those forbidden texts, a document that promises to unveil hidden details about the first humans, their struggle against dark forces, and the true impact of their fall. But what secrets does this manuscript hold? Why was it removed from the sacred scriptures? And how dangerous can the truth it contains be? Next, we will explore the rediscovered fragments of this ancient text, analyze its shocking revelations, and discover why its message could change everything we thought we knew about the sacred history of humanity. Prepare for a deep journey, where the forbidden and the sacred intertwine in a truth that few dare to confront head-on. The tale of Adam and Eve is undoubtedly one of humanity's oldest stories. Its origins trace back to the sacred texts of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which recount how the first humans were created by God and placed in the Garden of Eden, only to be expelled for disobeying the divine command. However, what most people do not realize is that this story holds many more layers of meaning, and that ancient texts exist that tell a very different version of events. One of these texts is the first and second book of Adam and Eve, also known as the Apocalypse of Moses, or the Writings of Adam. This is an ancient Gnostic manuscript that was excluded from the Bible and relegated to the apocryphal texts. Its content is both fascinating and unsettling, as it not only delves into what happened after the expulsion from Eden, but also describes the spiritual struggle of Adam and Eve against the forces of evil, their encounters with celestial and demonic entities, and the deep sorrow they felt at being banished from the presence of God. According to these writings, after being expelled, Adam and Eve faced not only the physical suffering of living outside paradise, but were also constantly pursued by Satan, who sought to deceive them in numerous ways once again. This is where the story takes a surprising turn. These texts suggest that humanity's true punishment was not merely mortality or hard labor, but spiritual isolation, disconnection from the divine kingdom, and the constant attack of dark entities aiming to keep us trapped in ignorance. These manuscripts, preserved in various versions, especially within Coptic Christianity, also include detailed descriptions of angelic hierarchies, portals between dimensions, and the existence of forbidden knowledge that was hidden from humanity. But if this book reveals so much crucial information about the fate of mankind, why was it removed from the sacred texts? What shocking truth does it hold that must be concealed? If we believed we knew the story of Adam, the content of this lost book reveals that what we were told is just the surface of a much deeper and more disturbing truth. The first and second books of Adam and Eve detail the events that occurred after the expulsion from Eden, and what is most surprising is the emphasis on the spiritual struggle faced by the first humans. They were not only physically banished, but also disconnected from the divine light, plunged into a state of extreme vulnerability against dark forces. In the traditional biblical narrative, Adam and Eve's disobedience is paid for with expulsion from paradise, pain, and forced labor. But this book tells us something more. The real punishment was the loss of contact with the celestial world and direct access to divine wisdom. Before the fall, Adam and Eve were luminous beings, immortal and spiritually aware. Their connection with God was direct and constant. But after eating from the forbidden fruit, they not only gained the knowledge of good and evil, but their energetic frequency also changed. Their essence became dense, their light was extinguished, and they became trapped in a state of matter that was much more primitive. This descent was not just physical, but also dimensional. According to these writings, the Garden of Eden was not just a physical space, but a realm of higher existence, a vibrational plane of harmony. The expulsion was not just from a place, but from an entirely different reality, and the world they were cast into was dominated by shadows, pain, and deception. One of the most unsettling aspects of these texts is the presence of Satan as an active and persistent entity. Here, he is not just a symbol of evil, but a real being who pursues Adam and Eve with a clear goal: to keep them enslaved in suffering and ignorant. The book describes episodes where Satan tries to convince Adam and Eve to take their own lives, promising them that if they die, they can return to Eden. At other times, he disguises himself as an angel of light to deceive them and lead them even further off their path. This pattern of manipulation did not stop with Adam and Eve, but continues to this day. According to these texts, humanity has inherited that same state of disconnection and vulnerability, trapped in an illusory world controlled by forces that seek to keep us away from our true spiritual potential. But here comes the most shocking point. These texts suggest that our world is not what it seems. Instead of being a planet where we simply evolve, it is a prison designed to keep our consciousness asleep. According to ancient agnostic teachings, supported by this book, humanity lives in a kind of controlled simulation, where souls reincarnate repeatedly without remembering their divine origin. Satan and his legions act as the jailers of this matrix, manipulating reality so that humans do not seek the truth or reconnect with their original light. This concept is disturbingly similar to the teachings of many esoteric traditions that speak of the wheel of samsara, the endless cycle of death and rebirth from which we can only escape when we awaken our consciousness. And this leads us to the crucial question: is there a way to free ourselves from this spiritual prison? If the exile of Adam and Eve was not only physical, but also spiritual and dimensional, the big question arises: is there a way to reverse the fall? Can we find our way back to our original state of light? The lost book of Adam and Eve suggests that, despite the deception and the prison in which humanity is found, God did not abandon us. There are keys, fragments of hidden wisdom that were given to the first humans, and that even today can guide us in our awakening. The divine promise, the key to breaking the enchantment. One of the most intriguing aspects of this text is that, upon seeing Adam and Eve's suffering, God promises them that one day he will send a redeeming light to rescue them from the prison of the material world. This concept resonates with many spiritual traditions. In Christianity, this promise is associated with the coming of Christ as the Savior. In Gnosticism, it relates to the awakening of the divine spark within each human being. In Buddhism and Hinduism, it speaks of liberation from samsara through enlightenment. But here is a shocking detail. According to the book, the process of redemption is not something that happens automatically. Humanity must prepare its consciousness to receive this light. Throughout their time on Earth, Adam and Eve faced not only physical difficulties, but a constant spiritual assault. Satan and his entities attempted to divert them, corrupt their minds, and steal the little light they had left. This narrative suggests that the struggle did not end with them, but continues to this day. Each person is a battlefield between darkness and light, between fear and awakening. Fears, doubts, and hopelessness are control tools used by these entities to keep us prisoners. Distraction, materialism, and ignorance are invisible chains that prevent us from remembering who we really are. If this is true, it means that every choice we make in our lives is an act of alignment with light or with darkness. Ancient texts suggest that Adam and Eve were instructed in certain methods to reconnect with divine light, methods that, if applied today, could help us awaken and free ourselves from the illusion. Some of these keys include prayer and inner connection, not as an empty ritual, but as a genuine communication with the divine. According to these texts, prayer is not just a plea, but an energetic channel that allows us to receive the vibration of original light. Meditation and introspection. Many traditions agree that inner silence is the gateway to hidden knowledge. Adam and Eve spent long periods in fasting and deep prayer, seeking to elevate their consciousness above the material world. Sacred knowledge. Ancient scriptures assert that ignorance is the greatest ally of darkness. Gaining wisdom is, in itself, an act of liberation. Purification of body and mind. For ages, Purification practices have been used to raise the body's vibration and facilitate connection with higher dimensions. These methods are not mere superstitions, but tools that have been preserved throughout history to help us escape the control matrix we have been trapped in. Perhaps the most surprising message of this book is the suggestion that Eden was never destroyed, but continues to exist, albeit on a plane that can only be accessed when our consciousness reaches the appropriate frequency. In other words, the return to paradise is not a physical journey, but a state of consciousness to which we must ascend. This would completely change our perception of the world. We would no longer be waiting for future redemption, but rather wielding the power to reclaim our divinity right now. Now that we have explored the hidden content of this book and its implications for humanity, we arrive at the most important moment. How do we apply this knowledge in our daily life? If the lost book of Adam and Eve is true, then humanity is not doomed to suffering or oblivion. Inside each of us lies a divine spark, a fragment of original light, waiting to be awakened. But how can we activate that power and transcend the prison of the material world? Here, we will explore spiritual practices based on the principles revealed in these ancient texts. If we apply them with discipline and devotion, they could enable us to transcend the illusion, regain our essence, and realign with the lost paradise. The first step to remembering who we truly are is to cleanse the distortions that have been imposed on our consciousness. Since the exile of Adam and Eve, humanity has been engulfed in fear, guilt, and distraction. Freeing ourselves from these chains is essential. Practice these actions to clarify your thoughts. Observe your thoughts throughout the day. Pay attention to the mental patterns that arise. How many of them are laden with fear, doubt, or negativity? Reconfigure your mind each time you identify a limiting thought. Replace them with positive information. In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded by stimuli that cloud our perception. Reducing external noise helps us listen to our inner voice. The lost book of Adam and Eve mentions that after their fall, they began consuming denser foods that distanced them from their original state. In many traditions, the purity of the body reflects the purity of the spirit. Some dietary tips include: reduce the intake of processed and low-vibration foods. What we ingest affects our energy, mental state, and our ability to perceive the subtle. Include live foods in your diet. Fruits, vegetables, and structured water can elevate the vibration of your organism. Conscious fasting, fasting in a controlled manner, is an ancestral practice that allows the body to detoxify and expand spiritual perception. In the accounts of Adam and Eve's exile, a key element was the isolation from the divine, which was one of the greatest sorrows they suffered. However, in their moments of deepest despair, they sought God in silence. Keep these points in mind when meditating. Dedicate at least 15 minutes a day to deep meditation. It doesn't matter which technique you use. What's essential is to reach a state of inner stillness. Visualization of Eden. Close your eyes and imagine walking through a sacred garden. Feel the pure energy of that place and sense how it begins to vibrate within you. The power of the sacred name. Many traditions speak of the vibration of certain mantras or divine names that can reconnect us with our original essence. The deception of humanity has been to keep us ignorant of our true origins. To reclaim our spiritual sovereignty, we must seek the lost knowledge. Read ancient texts, writings such as the Book of Enoch, the Kabbalah, or the Gnostic Gospels. They can offer hidden keys about our true nature. Investigate sacred symbolism. The language of the gods has been encoded in symbols that only the awakened can understand. Interpret your dreams. In ancient times, dreams were believed to be messages from the soul. Keep a journal and analyze recurring symbols. The lost book of Adam and Eve reveals a shocking truth. The return to paradise is not physical, but vibrational. It's not about a place, but a state of consciousness we must ascend to. These actions will aid you in transcending to a higher state of consciousness. Cultivate gratitude. Feeling gratitude raises your vibration and aligns you with the frequency of original light. Act with compassion. Every action we take leaves a mark on our energetic field. Living with love and service brings us closer to our divine essence. According to this book, death is not the end, but a return home for those who have elevated their consciousness. So far, we have discovered that the lost book of Adam and Eve is not just an ancient tale of humanity's fall, but a hidden map that reveals how to recover our true essence. We are not beings destined for suffering or prisoners of an imposed reality. We are sparks of entities with the power to transcend the illusion and return to the consciousness of original light. But here lies the great question: are we willing to awaken? Many will continue to ignore these truths, trapped in the inertia of everyday life, in fleeting desires and worldly worries. Yet, those who feel the call and decide to explore their own transformation will begin to see signs everywhere. Because when the mind opens to knowledge, the universe responds with revelations. If there is a fundamental teaching in this ancestral text, it is that the exile from Eden is not an eternal condemnation, but an opportunity to remember and evolve. Every decision, every thought, every action we take brings us closer or further away from awakening. What we can do from now on is observe our reality with new eyes. Nothing is by chance. Every encounter, every challenge, every emotion has a hidden purpose. Live with awareness, we are not slaves to matter or time. We can break the cycle of forgetfulness by taking control of our vibration. Seek the truth beyond appearances. Don't settle for what you've been taught. Investigate, question, expand your mind. The lost book of Adam and Eve is a testament that our history has been manipulated and the truth has been hidden from us. But revelation is within reach for those who seek sincerely. If you've made it this far, it's not by chance. Now the destiny is in your hands. Will you continue living in illusion or take control of your life to reclaim the lost knowledge? The choice is yours. If this information has resonated with you, share this video with those you feel are ready to learn the truth. Subscribe to continue exploring the hidden mysteries of our existence and leave us a comment. Do you believe that a return to Eden is possible? Your awakening is the beginning of something greater. Knowledge is power, and the truth is the key.